Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain, co-host, here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Dude, I know we try not to talk about the weather, especially in the first minute, but this heat dome can go away. Okay, it is way too hot. Has it reached y'all yet, or are y'all still?
No, it's been great the last few days.
Oh, must be nice. It's
Yeah.
stupid here. I think we finally hit our first triple-digit days, which is not the bad part. The really bad
I'm sure
part.
it'll get here.
Yeah, right. The bad part is the humidity is still 95%.
Yeah.
Because, well, we'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, Power Minute. Hey, tonight we're talking about translating practice success to games. I'm sure you read the title. Our players aren't executing on game day. Obviously, a big issue that lots of coaches have for various reasons. We're going to look at tackling tonight, making practice tougher than the game. We're going to get players to buy in and execute on game day, and then preparing for your opponent when you can't emulate them. If you think that I'm repeating that one from last week, you were wrong. Technically, I did repeat it. We will not talk about it. We did not. We will this time.
We didn't. We will. Yeah.
That's right. Let's get into your level up, Joe.
I'm going to save a couple because I'll hang on to one or two because we had a big week in multiple things, but I'll just do a couple here. The big one is my wife and I had our first time in 3 years. My son just turned 3, July 8th, I think, because our anniversary and our anniversary was July 11th. So we did dinner. We did kid birthday the weekend before. Then last week we did a dinner on our anniversary, which was on Friday night, and but nothing big. And then, but the plan was, because my wife had this past Friday off and I took Friday off, that was our weekend. And so we dropped my son off, or met up with my in-laws, and they took my son for the weekend. And we went up to Luray, Virginia. And we got married in Luray, which is in the mountains, or in the
Nice.
valley, whatever. I don't know the technical. I guess let's call it mountains. There's a mountain, there's valleys. You go up mountains, you go down mountains. Luray's on a big hill, so it has big hills. So
I feel you.
Which was obvious because we stayed kind of in town, and when we were walking around, it was like, oh, we did not prepare for this. The hills. But the thing about it was, we got married in Luray, and I've been there almost every Easter since we started dating, really, because she has family there, and their family always does Easter in Luray. And by the way, my long-term goals involve a house near Luray with some water. So anybody who is coaching for Luray or Page County, in a few years, I'm gonna be looking for a spot. It's my retirement gig, just offensive line. I don't need to call plays or anything like that. So anyway, I've never gotten to do the tourist type stuff there.
Right.
So I'd never been to Luray Caverns, which was very cool. Very, very, if you ever get a chance to do it. Very, very cool. Luray Caverns, a walk through. It's about an hour walk through, and then all the history of it. The first air conditioned house they pulled in the United States. They pulled the air from the caverns up into the house with a fan. It's pretty cool stuff. They've got the stalagmites play music. It's wild. Anyway, it's wild. Go see it. So that was the number one thing that I'd never done there. But then, it turns out Luray has a fantastic zoo, which was great. Steve Irwin visited it. Steve Irwin said that there's a plaque on the wall that they put up. Steve Irwin, crocodile hunter,
right,
visited back in 1998 when he was first filming his new show. And Luray has the zoo has a little note up there with pictures of him that says that Steve often said that this was his favorite zoo, or the best zoo he'd ever been to. Of course, sources, we were there, you were not, but it was pretty cool. There's if you like reptiles and monkeys, it's a rescue zoo. So I guess a lot of people get reptiles and monkeys, like snakes and monkeys, and Gila monsters, and then find out like, oh, I can't keep this in my house.
So it's like a
And
rescue
yeah,
for everyone's pets.
everyone's exotic pets. Yeah. And then and then by the way, for those of you that have kids, which we did not have our son with us, but we will definitely go next time. Fantastic petting zoo, great petting zoo.
To pet the Gila monsters.
As an
Pet the
emu,
monkeys.
doesn't sell insurance. I don't know if you guys all have that insurance company, but we do. So that's there.
Is that Progressive? No, it's not.
As Liberty.
Liberty, that's it.
Yeah,
Liberty.
yeah. I just kept saying Liberty Bibberty to the emu, and
So the
so
emu. The emu had to hear you say Liberty Bibberty.
yeah. So I mean, it was a lot of just stuff like that we did. We went to a couple flea markets. We went to I know they have several of them. And I think there's one in Gatlinburg. Maybe we went to Cooter's Garage of Luray. Saw the General Lee and the police car, a couple smashed up police car. They have a smashed up police car and the tow truck and everything. So again, stuff that my son should definitely see. Definitely recommend Daisy's Diner. Very good food. So it was a great time. And just being but I will say that after we've been through all of the heat that we had here, we were up in the mountains and we were walking back from somewhere, and there was a couple that was from Wisconsin sitting out on the porch, and they said, is he humid enough for you? We were like,
no,
what?
This is perfect.
What? It's like 85 degrees. Beautiful. Like, this is beautiful. No. So, and I will briefly touch my second one here. I did finish on that trip a very good audiobook. Not life-changing or anything like that, but very enjoyable. And one that got me thinking, especially the first part. So the last couple of hours, it was about 12-hour listen or something like that. The last couple of hours started to really focus on AI and whether or not it was going to destroy the earth. That was interesting, I guess, but there's basically three parts to the book. And it is, and I got to find it here because let's see. On the Edge by Nate Silver. First half focuses on gambling. So he was a World Series of Poker, not a winner, but played in all the high stakes poker stuff.
Right.
He's he's one of the guys who does the political election predictions, like calculations and everything, probabilities. So I think he got famous like in 2016 as one of the guys who gave Trump a chance or said Trump was going to win, kind of thing. And then and everybody was like, "Oh, you're stupid." And it's like, "Oh." So that's kind of how he got, I think, on the map in that, but he was already very successful at poker. He's so there's chapters on poker, there's chapters on sports gambling, there's chapters on and so that, of course, that's what drew me in. It's all about risk, really. It's about risk tolerance and one of the things that got me thinking about it, the reason I bring it up is because started talking a lot. Then the second part gets into business. It gets into not necessarily like small business, like what I do, but he saw a lot on was it Sam Bankman-Friedman, the SPF,
Yes. Right.
Yeah. A lot on him, which is interesting. He's a wild person, and then he gets into Sam Altman and some different people. It is interesting with him and the mindset of people like him. But there's a little bit in there on probability, which got my mind turning on play calling and the way that we look at things. And I talked about it actually on Chalk Talk last night. Was that this probability idea of, when we call a play, it's like it's not black and white. Like this is going to work. You have to start thinking. I think that one of the things that I'll start looking more into is the idea of, okay, this play has, you start to look at risk reward and potential, probability. So it's like this play has a 70% chance of having a positive, 3+ yards. This play has a 20% chance of 3+ yards, but 10% of the time it's going to go for 60, right? So it's like,
touche.
Which one's a better? So, and you're looking at that, and it's not an actual calculation. I think it's one of the things that some coaches will get hung up on is like, we're not making an actual calculation. When you listen to the interviews and you listen to him talk to poker players and different people who are in that risk world. He talks about the river and all this sort of stuff. This people who are in this poker and risk and gambling world. Slots, found out don't play slots.
No.
Like, yeah, at all. I mean, I knew that, but like, don't play slots, period. Just like the in-depth on why, poker's this way and blackjack's this way and slots is this way. But like this probability idea, not of making an exact calculation, but we are doing that, right? And you hear the people who are in this risk world and decision-making world, sports gambling, you know, talking about, this has a 60% chance of succeeding. And obviously in gambling, it's like there's a very big difference between a 60% chance and a 52% chance.
Right.
A 52% chance is losing money. A 60% chance is you are rich. So like that's really interesting. I think something that we could apply that thought process to play calling. So good book.
I got to ask just for your quick idea right here, and that is with the mentality that like all of we've said this on podcasts before, but every play in my playbook is designed to score.
Mm-hmm.
How do you take those two and put them together? How do you go, yes, inside zone is supposed to go score,
Sure,
but the chances of it actually doing that are what compared to, and then I know you've been a really on the cutting edge of getting away from calling by down and distance.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put those three together, like, yes, this is supposed to score. I don't care what down and distance it is. And now I have this probability that we actually get a down and distance. Does that change your mind and how you call plays at all now, or do you still have to put thought to that?
Well, you just look at every little piece of the puzzle. And it's fun. We're opening up offensive play call system. This episode, I think, will come out after it's open, but we have a special on it right now. But offensive play call system, we talk about identifying the weaknesses, and so we talk about numbers. And yes, the play is designed to score. So there are the factors of numbers. There's the factors of space. There's the factors of so all of the factors that go into play calling. Each one of those that is in your favor. Running a play behind your best player, you're behind your strong side of your offensive line into a numbers disadvantage for them. So we want to run this to the right, and they only have 5 guys on the right because we set up a formation, they misalign to it, and we've got an advantage there. We've got 2 gaps open, whatever. So now my players are better than yours. That increases the probability. It's our best play. That increases the problem. So every time that I call power, if power is my play, it has a naturally higher probability than, say, outside zone, if outside zone is not our best play, even though they're hitting the same area, both to the tight end. They're hitting the same general area. And power is my best play, so it has a higher probability to start with. And then, okay, my players are better than yours, so it has a higher probability. You have a misalignment. Now the probability is even higher. And so I start putting all those things together, and all of a sudden this play that was really, and again, the probability of, I had a coach today did a kickoff registration, and he talked about, I was doing his Coach Simple process, and that's what we do for our new coaches. Sending his kickoff registration video, letting them know kickoff, quick start, and he mentioned that he didn't have a dynamic back or a breakaway back, and I've done this, run the pistol power offense system a couple times with a back who was not a breakaway back, and 2 seasons stand out in my mind. Both of them, we had a kid who was tough as nails, who was black and white, right? No, there's no cut, right? It is, I am going to run right at this spot at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I knew with those kids that the probability of 3 yards was high. The probability of 4 yards was high. The probability of 12 yards was low. To the point that one of them broke away in a game, 2017, we're in a playoff game against Goochland, who had not lost a district game in 10 years. And he broke a run for the first time all season, week 12 playoffs. He breaks it off, and he gets about 25 yards down the field, and he's looking behind him like somebody had to blow a whistle. There's got to be. So at like 40, I mean, he's in the clear, and at like 40 yards, he gets walked because he's just like, there had to be a whistle. There's no way I'm out here. how he broke that, how that happened against the best defense that we played and an extremely disciplined defense. But he was just like he's like, where's
Almost showboating, like plays over.
no, he's not showboating. He's like he's confused. He's like, there's no way I got this far.
That's so funny.
So
I mean, it
so
stinks.
that all factors. So everything, all of those things though are in your process, right? They're in your mental process. When I have a breakaway back, like take a Barry Sanders, right? How many times did we watch Barry Sanders 8 carries for 4 yards through the first quarter, and then the 9th carry goes for 70 yards, like all the time with Barry, and that's what you knew. Barry Sanders was not the guy that was just going to go pound the football for 4 yards a carry. Yeah,
Right.
he had an incredibly high average, but it was the big hits. It was the the big plays. It's when you look, it's when you've got your Thunder and Lightning guys, when you got for the Falcons, Bijan Robinson, like you don't look at Bijan Robinson and go, that's a 4 yard a carry guy right there. You're like, when's Bijan Robinson going to hit a home run?
Yeah.
And how do we put him in positions to hit home runs? We're not feeding him the ball 35 times. If he carries the ball 35 times for 106 yards, it's like you just abused your best weapon running him into the line for 3 yards to carry. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So you got to, I mean, that's the thought process behind it. I don't think it changes the way that I look at play calls. Everything is designed to score, but the reality is everything has a certain probability of scoring. I think the point is that on a 1st and 10, I don't need a play that scores, and I don't need a play that gets 10 yards. All of my plays are just like, if I've got a play that I'm not sure is going to get 4 yards, it's probably not a good call. Right. Unless I just,
Touche. My level up, I for my first time went to the Texas High School Coaching Association clinic.
Oh, it made ESPN this year.
Do what?
Yes, they had an ESPN article on the Texas coach. I just blanked. They used to coach Falcons and coached USC.
Sarkisian,
thank you.
Okay.
I just blanked out. Sarkisian.
I really don't know his history, so I was like, I'm just guessing.
Yeah. Sarkisian, I guess, gave a talk about the importance of not the high school coaches that were. Sorry to interrupt your level up.
No, you're okay.
Talking about high school coaches, basically imploring high school coaches, and specifically in Texas, but imploring high school coaches not to let go of the reins on the recruiting thing. That a lot of high school coaches were getting, frustrated and disillusioned with kids getting agents and kids getting all of this kind of stuff. And his thing was high school coaches have got to stay involved in the recruiting process because they need somebody who's going to be honest with them, and that's our role. So, right. and that ESPN put that out there, which was funny because ESPN's putting that out there, and it's like, yeah,
we know.
Like everybody else is lying to these kids. We know, but nobody else knows. We're the ones that see it. We're the ones that know, but nobody will listen to us. We've got to be, right. Like, what do we have to gain by a kid getting recruited? He's gone. It's cool.
I had
like I want to place our kids in the best place. I don't like if I think a kid's going to go to Notre Dame, but he's never going to touch the field. I want him to find somewhere else.
I read somebody the other day talking about coaches don't want their kids, and this is obviously not everyone, but the fact that there are coaches out there that do not want their kids to get recruited because the pressure's on them to win. And if they're terrible coaches and their kids are still getting recruited, but the wins and you know what I mean, like the success isn't there, that puts undue pressure on a coach. Not undue, and not me. Obviously, I want if every kid.
I don't think that's a real thing at all. I've never ever in my life met a coach who felt that way.
Okay.
I've never. They exist. Okay, I say I've never met a coach. I don't think there's many coaches listening to this podcast who feel that way.
Right.
I've met some coaches who I wasn't sure put the effort into recruiting that they should have, and I don't know what their motivations were. My assumption was always that their motivations were they were lazy, or they didn't know how. Sometimes you assume people are lazy and they just don't even know what they don't know.
Right.
There's always the like they'll find if you're good enough they'll find you, and so I don't know if some coaches just go, well, if you're good enough they'll find you. It's like, whoa. I don't know if you know how, like, no offense college coaches, but I've seen some of the college coaches recruiting abilities. I don't trust that guy to figure it out.
Right.
I'm going to go stick it in his face and be like, look, Here, look. He doesn't have stars because that's stupid. Look. Like, I don't trust them to figure out. Anyway, Texas High School Coaches Association clinic.
Yeah, super huge clinic. I think they said there was 14,000 coaches
18
there.
is what they had, I think. 18 is a record, or
Yeah.
maybe it was a very high
Huge.
number. Yeah, it was on ESPN.
Ton of people there. I was in one of the booths with A Sports, big video board company. I've been helping kind of push their stuff for a while. But dude, had a ton of fun. Got to meet a bunch of like old school head coaches. There's Bruce Bush, I believe is his name. He's an old SWAT T coach. I got to interview him about a month ago, and got to just kind of shake his hand and talk to him again this weekend. And that was pretty cool. He said something that stuck out to me, Joe, and he said I never stayed anywhere longer than 7 years, 6 or 7 years. And he said because that's long enough to get in, turn it in the right direction, enjoy 2 years of success, and get out before you become the bad guy. And I was like, 100%. Like that's real life. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's guys. I interviewed a guy that's been at the same school in Michigan for 27 years. So anyway, it was just another way to look at football, another way to look at coaching. Like get in, do what.
I know guys who've never haven't stayed anywhere for more than about 3 years.
Yeah,
and it's the same deal. It's like 3 years, and they're like, nah, it starts to get less fun. And I see that. Like after about 3 years, it's like, man, I kind of done what we wanted to do, and now it's like you move into that. It's you and I, right? It's the new hobby. The fun thing for a lot of coaches is turning it around. Rick Stewart, going from place to place to turn a program around, and then like, he ain't trying to stay somewhere for 20 years. Like he's good at turning the program around, and that's the fun thing. And that's that taking a program from, and quite honestly, it's not the easy thing, but it's a different thing. Taking a program from 2-8 to 6-5 compared to taking a program from 8-2 to 9-1, like
not the same.
Because the teams at the top are dogs. Like they are tough, and like there's no quick fix. You really need the next thing, which is the right kids, the right coaching staff. Whereas you can come in pretty much and turn a 2-7 into a 5-5 on your own, almost,
right,
if you know what you're doing. I'm not saying I can do that, but I know people who can.
So that was really neat. I really love the way they have even branded it like coaching school. Like it's not another clinic. You're not coming down here to BS. I mean, the guys went out, at night and socialized and all that. But to be honest, for there to be 14, 18, whatever thousand coaches there weren't that many people like walking the streets late at night doing dumb stuff. There was a lot of people. Right. Yeah. There were a lot of people networking and talking ball. There was dry erase boards everywhere. So you could just be having a conversation in a cold beer. Next thing you know, you're drawing up your next fancy thing. I did run into the SMU defensive coordinator in the airport in Dallas on the way home, and he was just kind of laughing. He said something that made me. You get in this clinic thing, like you want to go, especially these bigger ones, you want to go and hear this guy talk because he's going to teach you his next big thing in football, right? I'm going to go listen to Sarkisian or Saban or Venables or one of these guys because the Sarkisian or Saban or Venables better at coaching. And now Texas Tech is in the room right now. Like, I'm not going to tell them what I'm doing. Why? I'm going to have to coach against those guys. Why would I give them my secret sauce? I'm going to give you this really bland, my name's on it, and I can make it sound cool, and I can talk the fundamentals and the basics all day. And it is fun. But he was like, people come to get like the next big thing. Like, we're not giving that to you at the Texas High School Coaches Clinic. So anyway, just super cool. Great environment. I loved it. I don't care what state you're in. If you get a chance to go down there, I highly recommend it. It stinks that it's in San Antonio, which is, like way south Texas. So every other state has to travel forever to get there. But, a flight's a flight. So it was really, really cool. Other little piece, and I know we got to move on because now we've spent almost half the show on Level Up. But we got a huge rainstorm the other day, and my house flooded.
Oh, no.
2:30 in the morning, I woke up. There was like 1.5 inches of water in the floor. I tried to do it on my own with towels. It was raining faster than I could get water out. I had to wake up my wife. Luckily, we have concrete floors, and so we just took squeegees and opened the front door, opened the back door, and made a river. And just come on through. The land in front of our house is a little bit higher than the house. Well, than the porch, the floor. And so that water just naturally, man, it pushes right on there. And we've had 2 feet of water get in the front, not like height, but distance from the front door, but never this, man. It was wild. So for 2 or 3 hours, the storm stalled out on top of us and just we got somewhere between 8 and 12 inches in 3 hours, and it was absolute chaos. But the house is dried out now.
There you go.
I think that was the night after we recorded, so that was last
Okay, so Wednesday.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. But yeah, so things are better now. The weather got us good. The real reason I bring that in to level up was because I've been meaning to put in French drains for a year, and I've continued to put it off and put it off. And now, if I would have just had some help for some drains, but I didn't do that. I put it off. Don't put things off, guys. Go do your thing. Last week we talked about we're not getting the most out of our talent. Next week we're going to talk about I feel like I'm coaching alone. Next week we're going to talk about a minute ago. You can turn a 2-7, 2-8, whatever into a 5-5. Almost
by shocked by the number of teams that play 9 games. By the way, by the number of states that play 9 games, it is. Yeah.
It.
Oh yeah.
You're always guaranteed a playoff spot, which is
yeah.
But I'm pretty excited to talk about that one next week. Just because you can get there if you're a hardcore studier and they're stuck in the old school way of just do what coach always did, or vice versa. Maybe they're all getting really advanced and you're just trying to do something super, super simple. You can kind of feel like you're alone out there. Real quick before we get going, if you've got a coaching buddy who needs this kind of content, please send it their way. A text, a tweet, whatever it is. Sharing the show helps more coaches grow in a very common sense way. So shoot the episode out. Let's pay the bills and go on, Joe.
They're calling front stunts, blitzes, coverages from the seat of their pants. Once we get those coaches putting a real defensive system in place, everything changes. The players play faster, the coaches have more confidence, and you start winning more football games. That's why I put together my latest free guide, What You Need to Know to Build the Ultimate Defensive Football Coaching System. And inside that guide, you will get the blueprint for building a defensive system that works so you can simplify your playbook, get your players to buy in, and take control of the game. You can go download your free copy right now at joedanielfootball.com/system to take the guesswork out of coaching, build your ultimate defensive system, and turn your football program around this season.
Let me ask you a question. Are your athletes fast enough to win every game on your schedule? The reality is most football players aren't, and most coaches, well, they're still leaning on outdated speed drills that don't actually translate to the field. You can have your kids in track all offseason, run sprints until the sun goes down, and live in the weight room. But if your athletes aren't getting faster where it matters, in pads, in the trenches, on game night, then you're wasting valuable time and reps. That's where athleticspeedmovement.com changes everything. They're getting real football speed development, not theory. It's built specifically for our game with progressions, drills. It's a full program that works at every level of play, semi-pro, high school, down to youth. It's all designed by Del Basquet, a guy who knows the game at the highest level, and it's backed by results on fields all over the country. So don't keep guessing with your speed work. Go to athleticspeedmovement.com right now and start turning your team's speed into a real competitive edge. Part 1. Part 1 tonight, we're going to talk about making practice tougher than the game. And I know that this can get a little blurry for some because what does a hard practice look like compared to a game? We're going to talk in a minute. Now, Joe, I'm sure you're going to talk about how you script, if you always script yourself into the best position so your play looks good on Thursday, on Tuesday, it won't on Friday, right? You need to do that a little different. Put your kids in bad positions and make them figure it out. But I want to touch on the conditioning piece real quick because your kids are never going to be as exhausted during practice, and they shouldn't be, as they will be in the third and fourth quarter of a game. So when we say make practice tougher than the game, we have to be careful that we aren't just physically trying to bully our kids into mental exhaustion so that it's as tough as the game. I know you've got a lot of good points on this, but I just wanted to touch on that before we got going.
Yeah, it's not about beating your kids up and physically making it tougher than the game. You can set your practices up And a lot of guys go, well, we can't make it tougher than the game because our scout team's awful. That's not what I'm talking about. In your practices, there are things that you can do to make the practice tougher in different ways. One is, yes, you want to. I think the number one thing is I want a high pace. I want a very high pace where there's a difference between teaching a skill. There's teaching it, and then there is applying it. And in a practice, we're going to have periods where we're repping, we're drilling, and that can be high pace, but it's very specific. The drill is geared towards one thing.
Right.
But when we get into team, I think one of the things that you can do, and you can control this as you need to, but I think that most team sessions go too slow. And there's a lot of discussion, and there's a lot of time in between plays, and there's a lot of time to think, and there's a lot of time to ask questions. And there are times, especially, where you need to make the team session be more like a real game. Because what happens in a real game is your guys go out there. Let's take your offensive line, for example. Your guys go out there, and whether they're out there for 3 plays, 8 plays, 12 plays, whatever, they are on their own. You do not get to talk to them. You can yell something here and there, but you have 12 plays, 10 plays where you don't get to talk to them. So is every single team session for you slow paced, explaining what went wrong, discussing, or do you ramp up the intensity and run play after play after play? It doesn't mean you no huddle or whatever. You don't have, but like for the defense, from the defensive standpoint, I like to put pressure on the defense by using the wristbands and going no huddle from the offensive standpoint. And that makes the defense react to what they're seeing, make their calls, make their adjustments, line up, make their checks, and do all of that under a high pressure situation. I've found a lot of defensive coaches don't like that because they want to have control over practice because they want to just feel good at the end of the day. Right. And trust me, I've had plenty of days where we just had 10 good plays in a row. And I look at the head coach and I say, blow the whistle. Let's get out of here. Because we need this. We need to just walk away feeling good today. But most of the time, we need a little more than that. So we can increase the tempo of practice to make practice tougher than the game. We can also do some other things. One is that we can script it so that, for example, I think that a lot of coaches go, well, my scout team sucks. But their scout team's over there just calling whatever, right? They're lined up in whatever, they're calling whatever. Well, if you want to make it tougher, script the scout team calls. Number one, your scout team should be running your defense, just a different variation of it. We talked about this last night and on our Chalk Talk Q&A. If the underlying principles are what matters, not the numbers. And so your scout team guys should still be spilling, forcing, running out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They should be doing their stuff. They should be key reading the way they key read, and you should just adapt that to create the defensive front, the defensive look. But I'm not trying to be you. Right? I'm not trying to be your defense out here because my guys are going to be too slow. They're not going to execute well in school. But I can also control this by making play calls that, from a defensive standpoint, I can make play calls from the scout defense standpoint. I can make calls that give me a numbers advantage, an angles advantage, a blitz. I can blitz right at the call. I can do lots of stuff that makes the practice harder because they keep calling, because you script the offense, you script the defensive call, and God dang it, they keep calling the perfect play over and over again. 3 out of 4 times they call the perfect defense. They blitz right at it. I will also, we had last season, we had a coach running our scout defense who was really good at getting the kids hyped up. And I think that's a major thing, but also he was really good at, just causing chaos. And so there were times when I would say, especially on like a Monday or Tuesday, I would be like, just run the base today. Okay. We're playing a 3-4. They don't blitz that much. Today, just be base. By Wednesday, when we're feeling good and things are looking good, I'll make sure that there's at least one period in there where I just cut him loose. Come at us. Make it as hard as you can make it. From a defensive standpoint, from a scout defense standpoint on your offense, I always think that one of the best things to do, and by the way, you can flip this and you can put your defense at times in the worst calls to defend. I think the best thing you can do for your defense is just speed tempo. But also you can, and that can give the offense a little bit of an advantage. But also you can put your defense in the worst calls, right? Don't blitz right at the play. Let's blitz the backside of the play and make it tougher there.
Right.
That's a little bit like, you obviously don't want that to happen, but if you need the edge for your players, put them in that situation. Take advantage of, like, look at what your players do wrong. Take advantage of it. Like, if I know that I have a corner who likes to come out of coverage, I'm double passing. I mean, I'm attacking the weaknesses of my defense with my scout team. I'm making sure that we attack the things we don't do well. I've talked about our hang technique with the trips. We always give up the 4 verts in practice. Always give up the 3x1 4 verts. That backside thing is always open. Never gave it up in a game. We always hit it on Tuesday. We don't give it up on Friday. From a defensive standpoint, though, against your offense, I think one of the best things that you can do is put a 12th and 13th guy out there. You can't block them all. And so now your running back isn't just running free. He's going to have to break a tackle. Somebody's unblocked, right? And just get used to, because it doesn't do the running back any good to run through wide open holes if you're that much better.
Right.
So put somebody out there, put 2 high safeties, run a Canadian defense, 4-2-5 cover 2 or cover quarters with 2 overhang safeties and 2 high safeties, and run that and make your guy break a tackle. Somebody's going to be there. So there's lots of things that you can do that are tricks to make it tougher in practice. And it's not, there is the element of like fatigue and, hey, we're going to do some sprints and stuff or whatever. And I wouldn't do that, but like doing a full practice and then at the end coming back to a high intensity type of session. So like we should be tired at this point. We've been going for 75 minutes, and now the last 15, we're going to get a good on good where everybody's a little tired. We're going to get a good on good. We're going to go fast, and we're going to, make us play a little bit fatigued. Putting in transitions, coaches never. So the things that make practice simple, the mistakes, I guess going the other direction, the mistakes are sticking the football in the middle of the field and just running plays. There's never any pressure. We should be doing pressure situations a lot more than 1st and 10s. We should be doing 3rd and 3s. We should be doing 3rd and 8. We should be like, those are pressure situations. You can put stakes on those. If you don't convert this many, then there's punishment or there's reward. So we can add those things in pressure situations. Transitions. Most coaches don't have transitions in their practice, and their offensive team time is just offensive team time, and most of the time the ball is just sitting in the middle of the field. Or are we going to run the punt team out there and make the punt team punt on a count, or are we going to just is punt going to be a 10-minute segment where we go punt team, then we spend 2 minutes going, where's Tommy? Tommy's got a test today. He's going to be late to practice. All right, who's his backup? I don't know. Well, Johnny, get out there. All right. 3-4 minutes in, we finally punt the ball 3 or 4 times, and then we never come off the field. We never run on the field, and we leave. Like, or are you going to run a field goal where you make the team sprint out in the middle of practice and nobody knew it was coming, and you go field goal, and the guys on field goal, if they're on scout, they got to turn around and run out there and be on field goal. If they're on, like, create those situations, like create that stuff. Do the same thing with your defense. Go, all right, intercepted. Boom. Can we turn around and run scout defense or run team defense? That's hard to do, but at least get them lined up.
It's real. I mean, those are great suggestions, especially look, get through your August. Like we kick off in September this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like day 1, you're probably not having that kind of practice, but we're not talking about day 1 here anyway, right? As you get into that 3rd week of fall camp, you get into game week 0, week 1, whatever you're doing. Your kids need to have that sense of urgency. If I've been, you told a story about your kid that broke a tackle or broke a run and then like kind of like gave up on the play because he was like, oh, there had to have been a mistake. Look, I was that, and I've told the story before. I can remember being in a game. I was an outside backer, and a kid broke a run on the inside. I turned to run it down, and in my brain, all we had done is I'd been scout defense, and so the offense broke every run. So what do? They run for 5 seconds, they blow the whistle, we come back. In my head, I was in practice mode.
All the time, yeah.
I shut it down, and oh God, I had to start running again, right? Because we had not, and that wasn't even on the coaches, like, but you need those transitions. You need to remember what that game feels like before you get into your game one and you're trying to be game like. Don't practice 1st and 10. That's 100% my theory. That's just what between hearing you talk and Kenny talk and the mentors in my life, you don't need to practice 1st and 10. 1st and 10, you practiced in Indy. You practiced it in your group time, your inside run, your whatever. If you get into team and you're wasting reps on 1st and 10, you're wasting all of your coach's ability to coach through a situation, right? You can make it 2nd and short. You make it 2nd and long. You can make it a 3rd down, a 4th down, whatever. But I think you need to have your coaches identifying, realizing that it is a certain situation, and then calling out what they would on Friday, right? Hey, it's 3rd and 12 here. Get to the sticks, right? Whether it's your offense or defense. If you're on offense, it's get to the sticks. If you're on defense, it's defend the sticks, right? We can rally and tackle if it's 3rd and 17 and they're throwing a 4-yard out. Who cares? Let them catch it and come make a tackle. Anyway, I just think those situations have to do. I do want to. You talked about just getting very, very fast. I have become more of a like quality over quantity guy when it comes to reps in these team events. Not that I'm trying to get 5 reps in 15 minutes because we need to talk through everything, and not that I even want to like repeat one. I don't know. Every year it changes a little bit. I think the situation kind of dictates. Like if we completely blow a play, look, if a kid pulls the wrong way, talk him up, coach him up on the sideline. Like, cool, man. You got confused. It screwed the play up. That crap happens on game time or in game night all the time. What is it, the Philadelphia Eagles that pulled directly into each other, right? The Cards did. And it went out. Unfortunately, we all have that clip now. But I have kind of gotten away from the, hey, I want to get 30 plays in 15 minutes. Just because I want that quality. And I don't know. If you can go out and get great 30 plays in 15 minutes, dude, by all means, like, go do it. I want to script our kids into the worst scenario. And then if we got to talk about it with one kid for 15 seconds, we're not lining up all 11. You guys go to the huddle. Bob, come here. You're the right tackle. Hey, I know he jumped outside on you real fast and he's supposed to be a down. Here's how we're going to handle it. Now go back. And if that slows you down a little bit, like, I think that's okay. I do understand the need to expedite those reps so that you get that game time feel. But what does game time look like to you? If you're not no huddle, or if your opponent isn't no huddle, you're probably not going to see. What do they always say? It's like 5 seconds of play followed by 25 seconds of rest, right?
Sure.
Like, how many people are running right at the end of the play clock, a 40-second play clock, just about every stinking time. So, anyway.
Yeah. We still huddle on offense in team sessions, but you don't go so fast that you can't coach, but you need to learn to coach on the fly.
For sure.
So what happens is it becomes the entire practice stops for 3 minutes while the coaches coach one kid, or worse, the coaches discuss what's wrong with the play and how they should fix it. If it's one kid, you need to coach it on the fly, or 2 kids, or 5 kids. If you got enough coaches, coach them on the fly and run it again, or we'll come back to it, or whatever. If it's when the thing where we just don't come back to it is when the play is fundamentally broken and we don't know how to fix it real quick.
Right.
Don't fix it on the field. Yeah. Move on, fix it in the office, come back and run it tomorrow. Fix it after practice, do something. But yeah, I mean, just don't be stupid. But we're constantly coaching on the fly, and I'm constantly coaching up, pulling offensive linemen and going over something all the time. It's not to say that we just practice at a breakneck speed no matter what. I think that's stupid. Same thing on the defensive side. You think of the way that a good weekend 7-on-7 goes. A good weekend 7-on-7 is game-like, except a coach can say, "Hey, coach, can we just stop the clock? Whatever. Can you line back up in that real quick so that I can show my kids how to line up to that, how we, check to that. And he says, sure. And they run back out and they line up to it. And you go, okay, you go here, you go here, you're here. And we're back in the huddle. And we're back to competitive nature.
Yep.
Right. That's how. And like, if you're at a good 7-on-7, you're not going to compromise the 7-on-7 by having a 3-minute clinic for your guys. But you might say, hey, coach, can you line back up with that? And you say, hey, see that? Let's go. All right. Boom. Let's go. All right. Next time they line up, hopefully they're ready. So that's the way I look at the speed of the practice. Yeah, you don't go breakneck speed just to go breakneck speed and let the wheels. Now, in the early days of 90-minute practice plan, if you're a team that's been going 2.5, 3 hours and you install 90-minute practice plan, I would go for a week of just letting just letting it fall apart and get everybody to realize this is how much time we have. You better figure it out. And then you go in the office and you talk about what are the issues we had today? What can we do better? What do we need to fix? And it's not longer practice. So you can, and so you do let the wheels come off for a little bit and everybody adjusts to that speed. But once we're talking in season, everybody's adjusted to that speed. I think there's a tendency to go backwards now and slow things down, especially you get into September, late September into October, and it's not so much teaching. We don't have to teach everything. We don't have to spend so much time going over everything, and things can really slow down and get nuanced. And sometimes that's okay. Everybody's in good shape and you've got an opponent. Sometimes that's okay to slow down a little bit, but just, don't overdo it either way.
Yeah. Kind of going to change gears here, getting those players to buy into what you're doing and execute on game day. And I know that's kind of just matches the title of the podcast here, but how are you doing? How are you getting that extra buy-in so that whichever kids are giving it their best when he comes around to game day?
I think we've got a lot of podcasts that go more in depth on this and the idea of buy-in, but it comes back to, do you have clear principles? Are you teaching your ASCA? Are you being specific on these things? Are you confusing, are you not confusing them? Is everybody on the same page as far as the coaching staff? Are you as a coach confusing them by changing what you mean and what you say? Or, this is your job, but then, hey, why didn't you do this? It's like, you got to know what the important things are, what the assignment is. It goes back to they don't care how much you care until they know how much you know. If you can make kids believe that the things that you're doing, the drills that you're doing, the practice work that you're doing, if you can show them why this is important and how this is making them a better football player by explaining the why behind it and making sure that they understand how it applies, showing it to them on film and how it works, all of those things make your practices valuable. And all of those things build buy-in. And everything that you do in a practice that is dumb bullcrap takes you the other direction. So and that's one of the beauties of the 90-minute practice plan, is you've got to sit there and you've got to look at it and you've got to go, I ain't got time for this crap. I ain't got time. We ain't got time to run that drill. You got the defensive line coach who spent the weekend on YouTube. He goes, man, I saw this thing. It's like, that's cool, but they better be able to squeeze a freaking down block. If they're all squeezing down blocks and defeating reach blocks and retracing screen blocks, then you got 2 minutes to do something dumb. Okay. But every 2 minutes that you spend doing something dumb is decreasing buy-in. And every 5 minutes that you spend on something they already know is decreasing buy-in. And when I say already know, so I go back to everyday drills. If the everyday drill is not progressing and you're just doing the same thing every day, if you're I'm sure he's a great guy, but he was a brand new coach. He wasn't much older than I was, and I was a freshman. And my defensive line coach in college, we were doing rope shoots and sleds because that's what he knew. And our Indy was rope shoot sleds, and it was a joke to me. I was from Georgia; it wasn't that hot to me. So we were out there in spring and summer camp going rope shoot sleds. Now, I was never going to play, but I could still make fun of the drills. It was a waste of time.
The quality of the player will not determine if they can judge you.
Yeah, there were no ropes, there were no shoots, and there were no sleds on the field. And the fact that I could beat those rope shoots and sleds meant nothing, because I could not beat the offensive lineman from Hampton-Sydney, right? I had no chance. I was never going to get the chance, but I couldn't if I had to. So, that kind of stuff. There's progressions and everything, but like everything that if it's dumb, they know it's dumb. If they feel it's a waste of time, they know it's a waste of time. And that's not all your kids. Some of your kids are just going to do what the coach says. Some of your kids think it's all dumb. But most of your kids are like, how does this help us? That's hurting buy-in. That's killing buy-in. Everything that you do where they go at the end of that drill session, at the end of that week, they go, man, that helped. You are so like I've got drills that I do in weightlifting, and we don't just do weightlifting all the time, right? We do different variations that are supposed to create different things. Every once in a while, I've done them all. I've been doing this for 9 years or whatever. Every once in a while, there'll be a drill that makes something click for me, and all of a sudden, my lifts get better because of this drill. And every single time that happens, now I think Chris is brilliant. My coach who wrote JDFB Weight Room, and I have other coaches there as well. I think they're all very, very smart. I think they're all doing a great job, but there are times when I'm like, why are we doing this? And I do it because we do it, and it's training, and I know that the person who's done it because I'm bought in. I'm sold on this.
Right.
But when one of those things clicks, that's the ones where I go, these dudes know what they're doing. And that will push me through the other stuff where I'm like, I don't know what I really want to do this, but I'm going to do it because I know that they know what they're doing. So when you do drills in practice that then translate to team time, and they go, man, that thing that I did in team time, that was straight out of the drill that we did in Indy, and it was awesome and it felt great. That's buy-in. That's it. It's not a conversation. It's not it's none of this bull crap. Did you teach them something, show them something, give them a skill that made them a better football player that is going to help your team win games? Ultimately, that creates buy-in. That's it.
I think this does with coaches from smaller schools. I think always you want to have the best coaches around, and you kind of talked about your D-line coach from college there, right? Like he just knew one thing.
He was
Probably the
brand
coach
new out of college, and
he didn't know, and
got his
having been
D3
through
job.
several small schools now, that's what you get a lot of the times is like the senior who comes back to volunteer or barely, maybe he goes off to college and comes back home
for a semester, yeah.
and you end up with a whole bunch of those, right? Because
yes,
whatever the reason, maybe because they know the culture, or they know whatever it is, but they still just don't have that knowledge. So I think a lot of this gets back into coach development. Kind of how are you spending your off season, right? Hopefully this is coming out in basically the beginning of August. We start our first practice August 11th. I don't know if this is out by then or not. I think it will be, but surely by now you've developed your coaches to where at least they can go out and build a practice schedule. If not, what are you doing to ensure that they're building a good practice schedule, right? We use a Google Doc or a Google Sheet or whatever, and we build it out, and everyone goes in and puts in what drill they're going to do. And that way the head coach kind of can go back and look and say, like you said, Joe, like, oh, I see that you're going to run around hoops for D-line today for 10 minutes.
How many times has that happened in a game?
Right. I get what you're even trying to emulate, but that hoop ain't got hands on him. So running around a defensive end is not the same as running around that hoop. Whatever, but he can ask questions. He can kind of have some oversight and go and say that drill don't make sense, or draw that on the board. You know what? I've never heard of that name. Put it on the board.
Here's the conversation is, and we've talked about the tough conversations before. We've had a whole podcast about tough conversations. This isn't the I need to fire you conversation, but this is the I need to win games conversation. And if you're a coordinator or you're a head coach, you should be having conversations with how did that drill go today? And don't let it be your teenage kid who goes, fine. Like, tell me about that drill. Tell me about the execution of that drill. Who got it today? Who didn't get it? Who executed that drill in team time? Who is so good at that drill that they need it to go to a next level? What's happening with this drill? Show me this drill on film. Show me, otherwise, if you can't, you need to go back to running the drills that are in the system. Like, if you're my defensive line coach and I've given you a little freedom to run some drills, and I look down there and you're doing what the frick ever you're doing, and I'm like, hey, listen, come here. You have 10 defensive linemen, 9 of them can't squeeze a down block.
Yes, it
non-negotiables,
does.
right?
Yes,
What are
it
the
does.
non-negotiables? Well, the non-negotiables, if you can't squeeze a down block, you can't play defensive line for me because it takes no skill. If you can't follow a puller, you can't play linebacker for me. And until he's following pullers, you shouldn't be doing anything else other than tackling, right? And nothing else, because nothing else matters. You're out there doing, wacky shock and shed drills and blitzy rippy drills and whatever, like all these fancy drills and stuff, or you're, God forbid, doing seat rolls on a sled.
Oh God.
That sled's never pulled. And if you can't follow a puller, you can't play. So you're wasting time with that. You're doing the bag drills, and he's skipping over bags and running in and out. And what was they ended up making a TV show out of it, but the commercials were hilarious. The football coach that went over and coached soccer.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh my God, I can't think of it. You lollygag and all this stuff, and it's like that's what I think when I see all those drills, and they've got all the equipment out and everything, and the kids are jumping around. It's like, okay, don't do that anymore. So have that conversation with them.
Yeah, and it goes back to, and I'm going to bring in my Army side here a little bit. We do the be no do model of leadership, right? And if you don't know what that is, hit pause and Google that right now, and just look at that and go through every one of those. It's just a circle. It looks like a little pie chart, but it's basically like the 6 fundamentals of leadership. And then, not that this is a big leadership part, but if your kids aren't buying in, it's probably because you lack something in that chart. That, because it is leadership. If they're not buying into you, it's because you're not a good leader, right? You should be able to lead people to want to do what you need or want to get done. So go check that out, man. And it covers everything from physical appearance. Look, dude, you run out on my field and you're 550 pounds and you're trying to tell me to go do a gasser and you can't walk across the field. I'm probably not following you very far. You know what I mean? Like, it's just part of it. And part of it's knowledge, expertise. If you don't have the knowledge of the game, I'm probably going to be sneaking over and asking that other coach, like, hey, dude, what do you see? And I've had that experience at
Sure.
schools where I'm not that position's coach. And he's like, hey, Coach Chambo, I'm not getting something over there. Can you show me a way to improve this thing? Absolutely, I can.
There's a lot of ego that hurts that because the coaches don't want to, like, again, knowing what you don't know. A lot of coaches think they know everything, and so the ego gets involved, and they think that the kid is the problem.
100%. 100%. So yeah, we've got to be able to go extreme ownership, all the things that I preach all the time. You've got to go back and identify these kids aren't buying in. It's probably your fault. It probably has nothing to do with them, because the worst kid on the team is out there to go play and win football games. So
Yep.
check them out. Get them straight, whatever they need. Let's jump in the last part here, Joe. Preparing for your opponent when you can't emulate them. And this is great because we just got talk about scout team a minute ago. Of course, we all want to 11 on 11, and you hope that that's some version of good on good. But the facts are, if you've got 17 kids and you're playing 11-man football, you're not going 11 on 11.
Sure.
If you're facing the fastest kid in the county, is what most of y'all say, 'cause we don't play county ball around here, but you can't emulate him. How are you going to get better? Because you're going to fit outside zone.
County's definitely more like a southern thing, I think.
Yeah, it is. Like
And it really
Missouri,
is
Georgia.
really, and really, it's like Maryland only has like 8 counties. There, nobody's ever like, oh, I played for Montgomery County. Like, no,
Yeah.
it's like, but in Virginia, it's counties, other than the city districts.
Right.
But then it's like mostly counties, and then
Not in Oklahoma.
everything: North
7
Carolina,
miles
South
is a
Carolina,
county.
Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. Like, they're all counties.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
But if that cat's just that much faster, you're going to fit outside zone or toss or a bubble screen or, whatever we're getting into these days. You're going to fit it great all week, because your third string running back who can't even start on defense is not going to outrun you to the edge like that cat's going to.
Right.
So there, what are we doing? And maybe it's just a quarterback who can absolutely spin the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the fast kid is always the first one we think about, but how are you emulating a quarterback that might be going D1 next year? Maybe he's going to be thrown to a Georgia Bulldog next year, and you've got to stop him with a bunch of 0.75s. So lots of places you have to look at that.
You want to be realistic about what you have and what they have. And so there's conversations, but you mentioned numbers, and we just don't have enough good guys. That brings in a lot of half line, a lot of inside outside drills, 7-on-7s for your passing, where I can get some numbers. 7-on-7 doesn't really help with the numbers because you probably don't have. It's not like you can take a lineman and put him out there at DB and that helps your numbers, right?
Right.
Yes, but you can do half field 7-on-7 where you're just working one half of the field. So you can do that kind of stuff if it's a numbers issue. I think one of the biggest things, so those are all, and then, putting extra guys out there, stuff that we already talked about. I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make is we try to run the offense that the other team runs. And we know that the other team runs an offense that requires a lot of precision. So they're an air raid, or they're a triple option, or they're a wing T, or they're a double wing. You can't do that. Let's say you run pistol power offense. You can't. Now, I can line up in the formations that they do. I can do their motions, and I can run plays that approximate what they do. And that's the key. But I can't execute an air raid at the level of a really good air raid team. I can't execute it under center, triple option, split back veer to save my life.
Right.
There's no way that I'm going to teach a kid to read that in 3 days. And I see coaches try to do it, and that's not going to work. So there are things that you can do. Now, one is you can take the option out and just call it, like, dive, quarterback, pitch. This is what the play looks like. For option, for wing T, so number one thing that we try to do offensively and defensively is we put everything in terms of our system. So our formations we can use our formation terminology, motion, everything to create anything that you do. Occasionally we'll use a special term. If it's really wacky, we'll just call it, tigers, or line up in tigers, because it's what we're going to call it. This really wacky, we'll just call it terminology and tags to create whatever we want. Offense we're talking about. I want them to know that they're lining up in a formation that we could legitimately run. Now, what I hate the lines on the cards. I think that's the dumbest goddamn thing in the world, is to have these kids staring like, which one am I? How do I do this? And is to have these running somebody else's play. Cannot. It takes a little bit of time. The best thing that you can do. We used the best thing that you can. And again, I got to some Thad Wells years ago that was very similar, that was on Coach Tube, that you may be able to find, the scout team system that Jason put out.
Right.
And I'm sure that other people have done it, because it's just an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, VLOOKUP and stuff. It's not anything wild. I could backwards. I don't know that Thad is selling it anymore, so I could probably backwards engineer it and get a Fiverr guy to do it and put it up on JD. For the longest time, I didn't do that because Thad was, putting it out there. But he's gone to the pictures, which I use for our offense. But for scout, they would have a wristband, and all the wristbands said, they've called, so like offensive line, they don't have a formation, right? They just line up 5 guys. And the right guard's wristband, I call out orange 7, and he looks at orange 7 on his wristband, and all it says is down block left. He's just doing a down block.
Right.
That's our offense. Now, the combination of him down blocking and a backside guard pull and wrap and a front side guard pull and kick out, all things that our kids know how to do. But I've created a buck sweep. We don't run buck sweep. But I've created both pulls. I've created down blocks. The backfield action I can create. I can teach the backfield how to do it, right? Usually. But
usually it's a big word there.
Well, I mean, I can approximate it. Like we reverse pivot, so it's not going to be exactly, but it's going to be pretty close. The quarter, depending on who your scout team quarterback, how good he is, how athletic he is, how smart he is. A lot of times they can emulate the backfield close enough, and the backs just kind of get, they do what they do. And when I've had a kid who was a backup quarterback I knew was going to be my scout kid all the time. And when I was in bigger schools, I would actually send him film, or I would even watch film, and this is the quarterback you are this week, because I wanted him to get the timing of the play actions and everything. So that's the only time. The quarterback is the only one I would rely on to learn this stuff.
That's actually pretty genius. Like,
just getting him to
Yeah.
make the backfield look like the backfield. And so I had one who was really good at this. I mean, he would learn how the quarterback held the ball when he came out of a play action fake. So if the quarterback put it on his hip, or if he held it down low, or if he came out up immediately, he would do all this stuff. And it was fantastic because, again, with our ball down key read, that's a critical thing. So anyway, if I'm doing that, then my kids are running our stuff. So this creates the ability to look like them without being them. I'm not trying to be them. And that's why I don't like just holding up a card and saying, run this to everybody. Because what I'm doing is I'm showing them their play. And here's what you do to be them. I don't need you to be them.
Right.
I need you to be the best player that you're going to be is the player that has been running, learning, executing our stuff for the last, if it's week 6, he's been doing this for 10 weeks, right? So for the last 10 weeks, including camp and everything, for the last 10 weeks, he's been learning how to do our stuff. He's been learning how to down block, reach block, pull and kick out, pull and wrap, whatever it is. Like, I'm not going to emulate. Now, if you're really high level, if you want to go really high level and try to emulate their pass protection, but most teams are either a half slide or they're a full slide or they're a big on big. It's not that difficult. Block number 1, pass pro number 1, pass pro number 2. You're probably not going to emulate the full thing, but I want you doing things. The best that you are going to be for me as a scout team player is doing things you already know how to do and that you do week in and week out. And by the way, everybody's offense is essentially zone or gap. And so every week, even if all you ever play is scout team and you do our indies and then you play scout team, it was one of the beauties of pistol power offense is we run zone and gap schemes. And so every week when we go to play somebody, you're either executing, your band says zone number 2. So now we go up to the line and we count and I find out who number 2 is and I zone block number 2. Or I says reach number 2, or it says down block left, or it says, it's our stuff, or it says bear, or I try to put combos in there if I can. A lot of times we won't combo, we'll just down block. I won't even have combos in there, but or if I've got some more experienced guys, I'll say as my guys get better, I may not put all of that on there. If you run power, it doesn't say down block left, combo. It says 24. Right. Everybody's band just says 24. And all my offensive linemen, all they know is we're running 24. Now, the formation may be a formation we never run. The ball may be actually going to the H-back who's coming in motion. It may be the quarterback running a power read. But those guys who are doing 24, they're blocking 24.
Yeah.
24. And it just is as much as you can. And the defensive side is the exact same thing. He looks at his band, and the band says, gives him his alignment and gives him what he's going to do. And if so, it'll say 3-tech spill, or it'll say 2-tech Toro, so slant strong. So 2-tech Toro, and I don't have to put spill on there, defensive lineman usually, but that's what he's doing. And so he knows I'm lining up in 2-tech. So we don't ever line up on the guards. Like, let's say we're an odd front team and we always line up on the nose, he's either on the nose or the ends. But he knows what a 2-tech is, which is head up on the guard, and he knows what Toro means slant to the strength. And so he doesn't care that it's an even front. We normally are an odd front. He's slanting. He's slanting on the guard instead of a center.
Yeah.
Big deal.
I guess I hadn't ever thought about, because we've just already done that. We've already just ran our stuff. So it's not, I haven't really thought about guys that are just out there trying to install a new offense for their scout team on Monday. Yeah. And I'm lucky, I guess, that we're in a system, and maybe this is a point about your system. Can you do that? Right? Like, Now, are we split back veer? No. But by God, we run RPOs to the front side.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already reading a guy and making a decision. So now that decision is either hand it or pull it or making a pitch man, which we run sprint out or a speed option. So, that's there. But the system we're in has just got, like, all of that stuff's already in it. And we live by that, like, what you expect of your players is what you're going to get from them. So they better know what the heck they're doing. You said something about the not putting lines on the scout card, and I have seen that go bad, and I've seen kids like, oh man, what number am I this time, or What's my letter? That is a hard one. That is a very, very hard one because a lot of times those cats that aren't starting, it's because they don't know the system very well yet, right? Like,
Well, again, that's why I wristband. That's why I wristband it instead of drawing for lines.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
They'll learn that. And by the way, what happens is you put one guy on that offensive line. Let's say it's offensive line. You put one guy on there who knows it, and he tells the other guys.
Yeah. Those are really good. And putting the rules, like the blocking rules, instead of what
not until
play or whatever,
early in
man,
the
that's a
season. It's
really good
just down
idea
block left.
because
It's like,
yeah, I'm a big duo guy. So even if I've got to put down to buddy, down to double, um,
and I've done that too for teams. I've put on there gap down backer as what it says.
right.
And then, I have to teach them what gap down backer means, but they know what a gap block is. They know what a down block is, and they know what it is to climb a linebacker. They just don't learn it in that context. And I just tell them like, this is how it works with them, but this is the blocks. And so sometimes I do have to teach them a little bit of football, but
I know we're pretty far over on time. I think this is where I just really get into like I don't care that it looks that much like the other team,
no, it's the
especially on the
formation and the
offensive
alignment,
side on
right?
the ball.
Yeah.
I know defense it matters a little more. I need to know a little bit more of like how are they reading certain kids, but at the end of the day,
But
you
that's
have a sound defense or you have an offense that has rules and they're going to go out and run their rules because in this day and age, defenses seem to switch like they change clothes. You know what I mean? It's you, especially if you run anything strange or different or fun. I'm gonna say fun because we have a blast running 85 formations a game or whatever. But dude, they're not gonna come out in their base stuff because they already know they can't win it. They watched you destroy a team last week that ran what they run. They're gonna run away from it. So they're gonna put in a flavor of the week or defense of the week or whatever. We've seen last year. I think 2 teams on offense changed offenses to come into the game for us. Like,
Yeah.
so whatever reason, we see that a lot around here. So there's no reason to go out and have a scientific class over how this is the split back veer, right? Oh, well, they're running the air raid. It has to look exactly like that. No, man. Go out and play ball, defend your rules, block your rules, whatever, and coach the fundamentals because you don't know what you're going to get at the end of the day.
Yeah. The thing about the defense and the offense is like I want to get the formations right. I want to get the motions right. I want to get the base alignment right. But there's certain things that just irk me. When the offensive coordinator is like I'll tell the defensive scout guy after the play or whatever, like, hey, he's supposed to be over here. If he's misaligned like 8 times in a row, I'm like, will you please fix this guy? But like if he misaligns one time, drive me insane if the tackle walks up there and goes, "Hey, dude, you're supposed to be over here." I'm like, that ain't gonna fly on Friday. Like,
Right. Can't
block
get
him
outside,
now.
my guy.
We'll
What are you
fix
doing?
him. Let them fix him, or let me get them to fix him if they just miss it. But like we'll fix that. But right now, you block that. I want there to be mistakes. One of the funny ones, and we do have to do it sometimes, is I remember one week we were just getting ripped, destroyed by again that coach was doing a really good job of just blitzing the snot out of us. And like, that was when the first time he did that. That was when we had the conversation later of like, give us a day or two to get used to the front, and then like come at us. We'll specify the period to come at us. Again, I like to script a lot of it, but that day we're just getting destroyed, and our offense getting destroyed by the scout defense, and it's like you've got to figure it out. Because I'll tell you, for your own, figure it out. Mental health, they're probably losing a game we should win. If we don't fix this now.
Right.
And like, you don't get mad. Like, I want you to show stuff. That's why I love, again, I go back to Thad Wells' system. And again, Thad does the Ruski system. He's been on the podcast, ROSKI. I loved some of the stuff in the scout defense, which the scout defense, I would only put like 6 or 8 calls total, especially if they're multi-front, it might be 10. But one of the things that was always on there was choice and stand choice. So choice was a call that and the scout team coordinators would never use it enough. Choice was a call that you could make where they could just line up wherever they wanted. Just do whatever you want. Line up where you think it's going to line up to make a play right now. And then stand choice was everybody just stand up, move around, and go wherever you want. And just chaos, because I want when you have a good scout team that's lining up and doing what it's supposed to do, and you don't have the young JV kid who's lining up, God knows what he's doing. I want that scout team to occasionally just be I want our offensive lineman to walk up there and be like, what the heck? And then have them solve problems. How many times, especially what if I go tempo? How many times do you go tempo and you get a terrible alignment by the...
Yeah.
But sometimes that alignment works out great for you. And sometimes that alignment is there's 8 guys right where you want to run the ball. Well, I'm going tempo. I'm not going to stop it and check it.
Yeah.
They just happen to be we better figure it out, count it up. So anyway, yeah, I love that stuff. The more, the more preparation. There are times when you want to just call plays and you want to have that good on good and get your play calling muscle going. But the more preparation that you can put into that practice, in the 90-minute practice plan, there's preparation for that to work.
Yeah.
But the more preparation that you put into it, the better it's going to be.
I love it. I think we've checked all the boxes. We appreciate you guys sticking with us tonight, especially it's an hour and 16 right here.
If some of you think it's too short, weirdos.
Hey, Brandon's happy every time we shoot one out. He's like, yeah, he sends me text with big thumbs up. Hour and a half episode.
Yeah, they're the best.
Loves it. Hey, me too. I like long format. Anyway, now that you've made it this far, do us a favor. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Your OC, your DC, a youth coach, a player's parent, whoever it is. Keep building the game with real answers to problems that we all have. Tonight, we talked about translating practice success to games, make practice tougher than the game, getting players to buy in and execute, and then preparing for an opponent that you can't completely emulate. Last week, we talked about we're not getting the most out of our talent. And next week, it's I feel like I'm coaching alone. Great topics. I'm pretty excited about next week because I'm just different than everyone anyway. So this is something I feel sometimes.
Bunch of weirdos.
Let's pay the bills one more time and get out of here, Joe.
Okay. I'm just looking at something. I don't know what's going on. All right. So we've talked about it a lot already, but of course of this thing, I'm going to give you the short version here because we've been a long time. I put together a free guide called What You Need to Know to Build Your Ultimate Defensive Football Coaching System. It's a guide that's going to give you the blueprint for building a defensive system that works so you can simplify your playbook, get your players to buy in, and take control of the game. All these things you're going to need to make all the stuff we just talked about work, the execution on the field. You can get a free copy right now at joedanielfootball.com/system to take the guesswork out of coaching, build your ultimate defensive system, and turn your program around this season. Because who wants to turn around next season? What's fun
That's
in
right.
that?
That's right. Hey, jump over to athleticspeedmovement.com. Look, we're getting pretty late in the year, and you've probably missed the opportunity to fully utilize this product for this year. But we do have an in-season product that you can use, an in-season schedule. And there's no day like today to start making your kids better. athleticspeedmovement.com. Also want to remind you about the Patreon, patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting. I'm possibly jumping into a group in Michigan. Got some guys out in the Alabama area, a few coaches that I'm getting to help nowadays, and I would love to add you to the list, whatever it is. We're working on recruiting websites right now. We're working on graphics, organizing your playbook, all sorts of fun stuff that we got going on at patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting. Jump over today and tell me what you need. Pick a tier. If there's not one right for you, I'll make one for you. Just DM me. Which sales are opening and closing here on the sometime in August, Joe? Possibly August 7th?
Ugh, I have no idea.
Let's go.
I have no idea. It could be Football Coaching 101. Yep, be open right about now. And then Game Film Masterclass at the end of the month.
Real quick, if you haven't got to joedanielfootball.com yet and signed up, we just started doing game film analysis again.
Yep.
It's probably the highlight of my season because you get to go out and help all these other coaches get better. Listen, guys, it really is neat to send your film off to a third set of eyes or second set of eyes if you're the only one watching film and making corrections and letting someone else be like, using the Joe Daniel system at its base, this is what this should look like. Sometimes I go a little extra and tell people kind of what I would do different, right? Here's the Joe system. Here's what I would even add to spice it up. Joe probably doesn't need to hear this, but
no, that is why we have different people doing it.
yeah, we have a ton of there's several guys. You can hear a different voice every week if you want. You can request to be with just Joe. You can request just me, Con, and Bill. There's all sorts of guys going to be helping this year. So,
if you just hate Con for some reason, like
I said, Con and Bill.
Yeah, no. I said if you just like if we're a platinum client and you just hate Con for some reason, which is unlikely. If Con's very good with the 425, so
he is.
Probably don't hate Con and the 3-3.
He is
probably.
Anyway, I highly recommend.
I hate Joe Daniel. Might be like just don't give me Coach Daniel.
And so there you go. I don't want to hear him. I hear him on the podcast every week
all the time.
I go to all the Chalk Talks. I already know what he's going to say. Yeah. He yelled at me last year, and I still didn't fix it.
Yelled at me. I told him my head coach wouldn't let me change this, and he yelled at me for 10 weeks about it.
Social media wise,
I would have gotten to yell at you for 11 if you would have just done it.
Coach Chambo OK on Twitter /X. Chamberlain Football Consulting at gmail.com, chamberlainfootballconsulting.com, patreon.com /Chamberlain Football Consulting. I have a YouTube, and my Facebook is getting kind of football-y now. So if you're on the Facebooks, you can look me up. I think it's Daniel Bryce Chamberlain, just my name. I don't know how. I'm going to be honest with you, I hate Facebook, but it's like still the place to go to get to everyone. So there's stuff on there. A lot of live podcasts, a lot of talks, a lot of stuff. So you can find me there if you want. Where you at, Joe?
I am at joedanielfootball.com. I am at football info on the Twitters, X. Everything else is at Joe Daniel Football on Instagram, on TikTok at Joe Daniel Football, Facebook.com /Joe Daniel Football, and joedanielfootball.com /YouTube is where you can watch the podcast.
Love it. That's it for this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. Make sure you're subscribed on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your shows so you don't miss what's coming next. Check us out on YouTube, too. You can watch the episodes there generally the week after they come out on the podcast websites. If you've been learning from the show, leave
Tuesday. Always comes out. YouTube always comes out on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yep.
Okay.
Thursday audio, Tuesday YouTube.
The
following Tuesday.
Yep. Love it.
If
you've been learning from the show, leave us a quick review. It goes a very long way in helping us reach other coaches. Thanks for listening. And as always, coach simple, play fast, win.